but yeah,
children.
Children. And also like any design flaws would have happened earlier. Maybe like seatbelts in cars, probably more in like the 80s,
Sure.
70s, 80s.
Seatbelts?
Now,
what about my rights?
Shut up, Jay. So I also, and I will go back a little bit to that point of misogyny in horror movies, because the original written death for Tatum was a fist fight with Ghostface. Yeah, so it was supposed to be a fist fight, and then the garage door was supposed to come down on her neck, and that was going to be the way that she was going to go. So if they would have left that in, you would have had your two females, because other than Gail, like you really only have Sydney and Tatum, like all of the women put up a big fight. Like they are not going down easy. Of course, they're doing the trips. Everyone loves the trips. Run away from the killer, and you just, oh no, everyone loves the trips. Everyone needs it, So, but all three of them had that been originally written in there. All three of them would have had a really, really like gone down fighting, gone down swinging type of end. Other than spoiler, Sydney doesn't die. Neither does Gail. But I mean, yeah, Tatum was supposed to really fight it out with Ghostface. And you know what? I kind of bummed that's not a part of it. I really would have liked to see it.
What I like about her death is that not necessarily, yes, Ghostface is there, doesn't actually physically do it himself. So she doesn't get like stabbed or gutted. Like her neck gets broken because she's trying to escape. So,
but he does cut her.
Okay, yes. But her death is not due to knife-inflicted wounds. It's because her neck's broken in the door. So I like that it's not. There's no.
It reminds me of a Tucker and Dale versus Evil kind of ending, even though this obviously came out way before that movie. But another wonderful
through the
comedic horror movie
angle. A lot of deaths in horror movies are penetrative, because there's stabbing. Yeah. Death is not penetrative. It's just breaks her neck, and it's not the killer physically doing it themselves. In a roundabout way, her death is a form of female empowerment because she's not fucking stabbed to death.
And she did fight. She threw some bottles and stuff like that.
The door, hitting them with the door.
Yes, exactly. Hitting him with the door. So she did put up a fight. She did have a very somewhat of a heroic end. Yeah. I mean, and Jay, you're right. Typically that, a lot of serial killers who are impotent will use knives because it's penetrative, just like you said. So that is, can be seen very masculinely, can be seen in a very misogynistic light. So you're right. You're absolutely right. They did keep her death to be, a very well, I'm running and this is just how this happened, So
I'm reading grass, we get straws, obviously.
Clearly, God, I'm just
kidding. Not that far away, if that makes sense.
The straws are thicker than your normal pop straw. This is they're
a smoothie
boba
straw.
tea. It's a boba tea straw.
Thank you.
Yeah. I got you, brother. I got you. Another fun fact, Reese Witherspoon was supposed to play she turned it down. They offered it to her. She turned it down. She was going to play Sydney. No, thank you. No, thank you.
That would have.
All right.
I like her. I would have liked her more than Drew Barrymore as Sidney Prescott. A little too close to in theme of in her role in Cruel Intentions.
Sure.
Because you mentioned how Sidney Prescott's is supposed to be the virginal, innocent,
purity type of thing,
and that's her character. That's Reese Witherspoon's character in Cruel Intentions, which were similar in time-ish, maybe by a year or two. I don't remember. But then how does that change? Would Reese Witherspoon have dyed her hair? Would you have kept Rose McGowan? Would you have recast Rose McGowan to be more contrast to Reese Witherspoon?
So Neve Campbell actually was originally going to say no to these movies anyway, because she doesn't like horror movies, which I'm like, yeah, girl, if you're not a scream queen, don't do it. Don't do it. But it's
done The Craft. She didn't want to be cast as a scream queen because it was 2 horror movies back to back.
Yeah. She didn't want to do it.
Reluctant.
Yep. But then she was like, well, Skeet signed on to it. So I guess I will. And I'm like, all right, cool. And then you made one of the greatest horror movies in history. So thank you so much.
Yeah. I love how the victims fight and try to figure it out. I love how the serial killers are human. Like everyone's human. Everyone's believably human. Like
yes.
The victims fight and but they also trip, but they also are real, and she's so resourceful. And then whoever the killer is always, I like the word buffoonery. Like they're also real. They're also going to forget things, lose things, trip themselves, get hit in the face. I think that's one of the main reasons I like the franchise, is that the monsters are real. The monsters are human. Yeah. They aren't supernatural.
Do you remember the first time you saw this movie? You said it was in theaters with your parents?
Yes. And
how old were you?
I don't know. And I'm scared to do the math to be like, oh, okay, I had to have been exactly this. Oh, she's so sad. So then I went home, and that feeling, I was scared. I was still scared at home that night or later that night. You know, everything's dark, and just having that feeling like he might be coming for me. I had a similar experience when I was like 5 with Freddy Krueger and Nightmare on Elm Street movies.
Yeah.
Like parenting, right? But it recaptured that same feeling I had at 5, where it's like, you're not safe in your home. You know, they
you said you grew up in a small town. I imagine the houses were probably kind of far apart.
Our house was in a complex, so it was close together. So there wasn't any skip. But then one of my best girlfriends, she lived out in the woods with land, and so if I stayed the night at her house, and she was my horror movie buddy growing up. Like we went and saw Cabin Fever in the theaters, and we went and saw Blair Witch, and I remember like watching Blair Witch and then staying the night at her house, and I'm like, I hate this. I am so scared right now. Like, I don't know where your neighbors are. I'm used to like being able to like look outside and be like, oh, there they are. Hello. But so did we see Sydney run through the attic to try to escape? That in the attic, there's dolls hanging from string and nooses, and it's so creepy. And it's a reference to Dario Argento's Deep Red.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. I didn't even.
That's fucking rad.
I did not even catch that. That's fantastic.
I just thought it was fucking creepy.
Yeah.
It was creepy.
So Gail has bugged the house. Everyone is at Stumacher's house. They're having a party. And so, you know, this is, like I said, our final climax. He's knocking everybody off one by one. And majority of the party people have left. So Gail, when she walked into the party, everyone's like, oh, it's Gail Weathers. Oh my God, hi. And so she took a camera and snuck it into like the entertainment center, and it had a 30-second delay. That's a big portion of it. So there's a 30-second delay. So Sydney ran through the attic. She ran outside. She's running from Ghostface. She gets into the news van with whatever the gentleman's name is.
Cameraman.
Yes.
Kenny the cameraman.
Yes, Kenny the cameraman, Gail's cameraman. Once they're watching this video and everything, Kenny goes, there's a 30-second delay. They're like, Randy, turn around. Because Randy, this perfect meta moment, is like watching the horror movie, and he's yelling at the TV, turn around, the killer's right behind you. And as you're watching Gail's footage, Ghostface is right behind Randy. And like, so they're like, oh shit, is Randy dead? And then who opens the van? Ghostface. Who kills Kenny? Ghostface. And so then Sydney goes running off again.
I'm so excited for Horror Hound weekend, because clearly got Sydney Prescott, Nev Campbell, Billy Loomis, Stu Macher, Jamie Kennedy, Randy Meeks was recently announced, and Kenny the cameraman. So it's going to be a really great Scream panel the Saturday of Horror Hound weekend in Cincinnati.
There's a great line from Courtney Arquette. Courtney
Arquette. Whoa! I appreciate it.
There's a great line from Gail Weathers. She's running.
I'm not mad at Courtney Arquette.
And she says, I need the cellular. So going back to Billy Loomis having a cell phone. Yeah. That's how alien it is at that point in time. The news reporter doesn't have a cell phone. And she's not just like some small town news reporter. She's a pretty big deal.
She's Gail Weathers.
Murder from the last year of Sydney's mother's murder. And she's well known. You know, we also should point out, like,
So Sydney is the whole thing about this movie is like Sydney won't have sex with Billy Loomis. And so reason why is because her mother, Maureen, had just died a year earlier. Gail had covered that and Gail did a really terrible job. So Sydney immediately hated her. So that's why Alina, when you had pointed out that the scene between Sydney and Gail was really intense, is because Sydney was so upset with the coverage that her mother had, because her mother, she was a promiscuous woman who was cheating on her husband and it got her killed. Now, don't cheat on your husband, but like, fuck whoever you want, man. Just don't cheat on your husband. Don't cheat on your spouse. Don't cheat on your spouse. But like, if you want to get that D, I'm not mad at you. Like do whatever you want. Right. But, yeah, don't cheat on your spouse. Don't ruin a marriage. Don't, sleep with somebody else's husband or wife or what have you. But yeah, so Maureen Prescott was killed. They got the killer. Sydney thought that she had fingered the right guy. So Cotton Weary.
Gail Weathers held to the fact that Cotton Weary was an innocent man the entire time.
Yeah, she did.
She was calling Sydney Prescott a liar and she was making it up. And, that's a difficult thing to hear as a kid, especially when you are utterly convinced. You have no reason to believe otherwise. So their relationship is a little strained.
And so, her father is a businessman going at it. Like, that's why you don't see him really in this movie much, is because he supposedly went out of town on a business trip, and everything. And so, obviously he's reeling from, his wife being murdered and finding out that she cheated on him. So it's just, bad moms, man. And the thing is, like, I'm sure she wasn't I don't know. You really don't know her much as a mother. It seemed like Sydney did really love her and she had a good relationship with Sydney. It just, her side activities weren't so great.
I like that Sid doesn't choose one of the because Stu and Randy come running up blaming each other as the killer, and Sydney's like, fuck both you guys, I'm going inside, and just locks them up. It's a survival tactic. I like it.
It's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Always choose yourself.
Yep Always looking out for number one. Yep.
Be a good human, but always choose yourself.
Yep. As Rick from Rick and Morty would say, always look out for number one. And I'm number one. Yep. So really quickly, we're about to learn who Billy Loomis is, which is really cool. So yeah, there's also a line. Oh, there we go. Go ahead.
With Billy Loomis's dad.
Yes. Which caused Billy Loomis's mother, who we were introduced to in the second one, she left him. And so Billy secretly blames, like, obviously Maureen for it. It's why he killed her. And we should point this out there. He raped her as well. He did. It was a rape and murder. Yeah. So that was one of the arguments as well, that why, like, Billy and Sydney were kind of upset with each other. Whereas, like, well, Billy had the argument of, like, my mom left too. Or my mom's gone too. And he's like, yeah, but your mom left you. Mine's buried in a coffin. She's never coming back. So there's that kind of animosity there. Yeah. So guess who's been introduced as the killer? Spoiler. There are two killers. Billy Loomis, Stu Macher. Yes, that's right, folks. Sydney Prescott's boyfriend is the killer. There's a line that's going to come out of Stu's mouth here pretty soon as they go chasing Sydney, because spoiler, Sydney's going to get away from this. But Stu yells, I've always had a thing for you, Sid. And then Sydney yells back, in your dreams, ad-libbed by both Matthew Lillard and Nev Campbell. That was just off the dome right there, which I appreciate.
Did you have any idea that, like, so before the party starts, did you think it was going to be either one of these killers?
When I first saw this, no, I thought it was going to be Randy.
I think I took the boots in the bathroom as a red herring. I think I took that hook, line, and sinker. I was like, oh, well, it's clearly like the dad, the principal, the guy with boots, it's the sheriff, which doesn't make any goddamn sense. But
I distinctly remember the first time I watched it because it was on VHS at my cousin's house. And I had no idea who the killer was, and I was super impressed.
Yeah, I was very, very, very shocked that it was Billy, which I shouldn't have been, because I mean, the first scene that we see Billy, he's like skulking around and like, you know, I was watching The Exorcist and it made me think of you. And it's like, I'm sorry. What?
And like, he sneaks in, the song playing is Don't Fear the Reaper.
Yes. Yeah. So, you know, all the clues in that first